Hi, and welcome to this photo tutorial. If you're a Netflix user, you've probably seen the promotional photos for their show House of Cards. Very sleek looking black and white portraits of the actors on a clean white background. Those photos were probably shot in a big studio using a lot of expensive equipment. But I'm going to show you how to do something very similar using only 2 lights and one of my personal favorite tools, the plain white shower curtain. There are basically 2 ways to make what's called a white limbo background. You can either shine a lot of light on a white surface from the front, or you can shoot a lot of light through a white surface from the back. In this case, that's what I'm going to do. I've got my white shower curtain here, stretched out on a piece of PVC pipe hanging from a C-stand. That's all this is, and it's going to be a great background. The wrinkles aren't going to show up because we're going to just nuke it. We're going to have it be pure, blown out, 100% white with no detail. I'm going to use this lamp as a strobe, but I'm going to turn the modeling lamp on to show you one thing. If I aim this lamp at one spot directly on the fabric, it's going to make a hot spot and leave the rest of it sort of under illuminated. It's going to come out kind of a dingy gray. I don't want that. But if I spin this light around and aim it at the wall on the other side and I crank it up, when the light hits the wall, it's going to diffuse, spread out, and illuminate, hopefully, the entirety of this fabric. That's what I want. Now, for this kind of shot, you want a pretty deep depth of field. That's the way the originals were done anyway. So I'm going to turn this monolight all the way up and hope for something around f11 when I take the picture. Depending on what kind of lights you have, you may need to use more than one light or settle for a larger aperture. One word of warning about exposure here. You want to make sure that the background is 100% overexposed. That is, in the histogram, it's one thin line on the far right-hand side, but you want it to be just 100%. If you overexpose the background too much, it's going to act as a light source, and it's going to give your subject a strong backlight that may not be what you want. Part of what makes the House of Cards portraits so appealing and so dramatic is the angle of the light. Instead of coming directly at the subject like the light on me is right now, the light is coming from the side and quite a bit overhead. That's a very cinematic style because it models the features. In other words, it casts shadows to accentuate the features rather than using a bunch of light to smooth out the face. Now, the light is still soft. That is, the shadows that it casts are still not hard-edged. So, to do that, I'm going to use another monolight up high and from the side, diffused by another shower curtain. Now, there's one more component to the setup which is optional. If you find you want to add more drama, you want to make the shadows on the shadow side of your subject darker, you can add what's called negative fill. I've used a black backdrop here. You can use black foam core, a dark sheet, whatever you have on hand. And the idea is just to keep the light that's bouncing around from your various light sources from diffusing too much onto the shadow side of your subject. You can't see the camera because it's out of the shot. I've got a 50mm lens on there to get a 3/4 or a cowboy shot like the House of Cards portraits. All I'm going to do now is push the button on the timer and strike a pose. As you can see, aside from the fact that it's me and not an actor, the results speak for themselves. With some minor tonal adjustment to the raw image, this is a finished product. Easy setup, great results, and almost no post-processing. You don't have to be a corrupt politician or reporter to like that.